So I compiled the list of the aspects of Apple design that just bother me. So with the help of my Twitter followers and my YouTube community tab, I have compiled a list of the aspects of Apple's design that bother me on an ergonomic level. So I'm not talking about designs such as removing ports or removing the headphone jack or the notch, big things like that. I'm talking about little ergonomic mistakes that I notice on a day-to-day basis that just kind of get under my skin a little bit. Let's jump in at number 8. So you may have noticed on the recent MacBooks, the ones that have the butterfly keyboards and the new Apple design language, the headphone jack has been moved to the right side of the laptop. This bothers me. Let me get my headphones and I'll show you why. So when you're wearing headphones, most of them have the cord on the left side. And what that means is, in order to plug it in, you either have to cross it in front of you or wrap it around the computer or block the keyboard. It's just not good. Number 7, inconsistent bezels. So if you look at the current design for the MacBook Pro, the side bezels as well as the top and bottom bezels are all different widths. I don't like that. I don't know why they don't just make the screen centered in the bezel. It's beyond me, but it bothers me that the sides are thin and then the top is noticeably thicker. Number 6, the arrow keys on the butterfly keyboards. If you look at any Mac keyboard that was made before the butterfly keyboards, the arrow keys are all the same height and width. If you look on the detached iMac keyboards, they're all normal square shapes. If you look at an older MacBook keyboard, all of the arrows are shorter, but at least the left and right ones are the same height as the up and down ones. However, if you look at the newer ones on the butterfly keyboards, the left and right are perfectly square and tall, whereas the up and down are squished and short. Make them all the same height. I don't like it. It's inconvenient to use. Number 5, the hard to take off back of the new MacBook Pros. For years, the way that you would take the back off of a MacBook Pro is by taking the screws out and then pulling it off. But now, of course, there's just a couple more steps. In addition to having less common screw tips, which has been talked about ad nauseum, there is also now the interesting complication where you have to actually use a suction cup to pull the back off and then slide it out of these little notches. It makes everything a lot more scarier and it's way more difficult than it needs to be. The way that you can charge a Galaxy, but you can't charge an iPhone on these newer MacBook Pros. See, if you're a normal person, you probably have one of these. It's a lightning charger. On one end is the lightning port that goes into your phone. On the other end is a USB Type-A port, a port that cannot be found on newer MacBooks. What that means is that if you want to charge your Apple iPhone with your Apple MacBook, you need an adapter. That is pretty stupid. But it gets better because if you pick up any recent Samsung Galaxy phone, you'll notice they all charge with USB-C, which means you can charge them with the same charger as your MacBook. That is a level of continuity that even Lightning to USB-C won't provide. Now, time will tell how long this annoyance will persist because there are rumors that the new upcoming iPhones, which will be released just a couple days after this video is released, may switch to using USB-C when plugging into a power brick, which will make it very easy to plug into a newer MacBook, but very difficult to plug into anything older. Additionally, there are rumors that in the next 1 to 2 years, Apple will be switching the iPhones to use USB-C. However, this seems a little bit unlikely because Apple makes a buttload of money licensing Lightning accessories. So, next up is number 4, and this one was overwhelmingly popular. So in your responses on Twitter and the community posts that I made when I was making this video, I saw literally dozens of people that commented or liked comments suggesting this ergonomic mishap. And that is the Magic Mouse 2 design. Because it charges with Lightning, but the charging port is on the bottom, so there's no way to charge it without it looking completely ridiculous. Now, the follow-up complaint in a similar vein is the way that the Apple Pencil charges, because it sticks out of an iPad looking like a unicorn horn. This is something that I've been talking about for years. In fact, if you go back to 2015, I made a review of the Apple Pencil, and I said that very sentence. And while the cap is very nifty and magnetic and it makes a cool little snapping sound when you put it back on, it's very satisfying, it can charge by being plugged right into the iPad, which is convenient, but it kind of makes the iPad look like it has a unicorn horn. Next up is number 2, and that is the location of the fan exhaust. So if you pick up a MacBook Pro and you take off the bottom, or you look at pictures of the bottom, because as I said, it's so hard to get the bottom off of it, you'll notice that the 2 fans are on the ends of the vents. Now you may be thinking, what's the problem with that? But here's the thing, a laptop, in general, is going to spend some amount of time on your lap. And the problem is, when you put it on your lap, the fans completely line up with where your thighs are. So what this means is when you put the laptop on your lap, as you do, and it starts to get going a little bit, gets a little toasty, the fan exhausts directly into your thigh meat, which not only burns your legs to pieces, but it also blocks ventilation for the computer, making it harder to cool. And, shall we say, cooling is not a strong suit of MacBook Pros. And that brings us on to number 1. And I'll be honest, this is not something that I had even really noticed before I asked you guys this question, but now that I know, I can't stop noticing it and it bothers me. And now you're going to be bothered by it too. So, number 1, font inconsistencies. If you look at the font on the MacBook Pro and the MacBook, they're not the same. Even though the design language is very much the same. They both have the same aluminum with the aluminum hinge, the space gray, the metal Apple logo, the little piece of glass below the screen. They all have the same design language, but the font is not the same. The MacBook Pro uses San Francisco, which makes sense because that's Apple's system-wide font, which is good, it's continuity. However, the MacBook uses Avenir, which never was a system font, so I don't know why they use that. Now granted, most people aren't going to notice this because you probably don't have both of those devices. However, I, being a purveyor of many MacBooks, do have both a MacBook Pro and a MacBook, and now I cannot stop noticing this, and it really irrationally bothers me. Now, credit where credit's due. Evan Phillips, thank you so much for pointing this out. I don't know how you noticed this, but really, really good eye, and also, thanks for ruining my life, because now I can't stop seeing it. Why the heck is it Avenir? I've never used Avenir. It's a stupid font, and I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna erase that. So that'll do it for today's video. Now, obviously, I didn't talk about the major scandals like the MacBook Pro with the Core i9 or the lack of ports and all that stuff. That's all been talked about before. No. These are like the small little nitpicky things. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Congratulations, because now your life is ruined and you'll never be able to look at a MacBook Pro and a MacBook without thinking about Avenir, which is a terrible font. So you're welcome for that, and thank you, Evan Phillips. As usual, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at LukeMiani, and don't forget to join my subreddit. The link is in the description below, as well as links to all the wallpaper that I use in my videos. A lot of people have been asking about that, so there's a link in the description. It's been there for quite a while, but I figured I'd give it a mention just so that you know. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.